Yes, this is Kevin Graham reporting from the Greyhound bus to Michigan. It's cramped and smelly, but it's cheap. And I will be reporting on the Dogman. And I'm going to get into this, I'm going to dig deep, and I'm going to uncover the truth. Is the Dogman real or not? Kevin Graham reporting from Michigan soon. And yes, people will believe anything.
Paranormal Addiction. I'm the voice of the North.
And I'm Rainbow Owl.
And today we are going to be talking about Dogman.
And Della, I do believe this is a subject very close to your heart, and you've followed the Dogman for years. Well, not literally followed him, but you've researched him.
I've researched it for a long time, yeah. I've been researching it.
Now, before we bring our guests on, just tell everyone what a Dogman is. Obviously, the name kind of gives it away.
Right. But... Well, to some people, a Dogman is, they call it a Sasquatch with a dog face. Other people, they think it's a skinwalker, chupacabra. I mean, it looks like a werewolf, the bog standard werewolf. A lot of people have said that it's more like the Van Helsing werewolf. That's what a lot of people have reported to be seeing, but there is different types of the Dogman. You get different types. So there you go.
And where in the world have these
They've been seen all over. We've got them in the UK, we've got them in America, we've got them in Germany, we've got them in Denmark, we've got them all over Europe. They've been seen in Australia, they've been seen in Asia, you name it, the Dogman's been seen there. So there's a lot of sightings, but you see it goes there again with Bigfoot. A lot of people, now the Bigfoot Society do not believe that there is such thing as Dogmen. They just think that it's, like I said, a Sasquatch with a dog type face. Then you've got people believing that the Dogman has evolved from the direwolf, which died out a long time ago, but they believe that the Dogman is a descendant from the direwolf. And then you've got people that believe that the Dogman could be an experiment from World War II when Hitler decided to do his experiments on humans and animals. So there's a lot of conspiracies behind where the Dogman came from.
So Della, where do you think the Dogman came from?
Well, Alex, that's a good question. Now, when we researching the Dogman over the years, I've gone back through history, and I did notice that back in the Egyptian times, there's actually the jackal, the Anubis.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, Anubis has got a body of a man and the head of a dog. Now, looking back into history, they said that the Egyptian people spoke and communicated with Anubis, and there's also saying back then that there were like a clan of dog-head creatures that had a head and body of the head of a dog and a body of a human, and they said that they actually traded goods with these creatures. So this is how far back I went. So probably they've been here a lot longer than what people think.
Right.
Then coming back through history. I mean, coming back out through history. I mean, it's like I mentioned, World War II, genetically engineered species. I've also heard stories as well that is aliens. The aliens have come from a different planet.
Isn't it?
Yeah, they've come from a different planet.
So by the sounds of it, it's still very open about where this Dogman came from.
Yeah. But St. Christopher, now this is an interesting thing that I actually came across when I was doing the research. St. Christopher, the original form of St. Christopher was actually the head of a dog.
Really?
And the body of a human, yeah. So if you guys want to go look up St. Christopher, it'll actually come up with St. Christopher as the head of a dog and the body of a human.
Wow.
So It seemed a bit strange, but the church changed everything about it, and he became the head of a human, and the body of a human too. But yeah, please go look that up. I mean, that is a very interesting fact about Saint Christopher, that he actually had a head of a dog and a body of a human. So when you start digging, it's like I've dug and dug and dug. You start finding a lot of things that
a lot of questionable.
Yeah, you start questioning stuff. So there we go, guys. That's a bit of information that I can give to you, and you can go look up.
Interesting stuff, Della. Now, later on in the show, we've got Phil Stern on. Now, Phil has actually seen a Dogman. It's an exclusive. He's never actually shared the story himself, so I'm really looking forward to that. But before we bring Phil on, our very own Paranormal Addiction radio reporter has also had a Dogman experience, and he would like to share that with us.
Hello, this is Kevin Graham reporting from the Greyhound bus. P.A. Radio has so graciously provided for my trip to Michigan to report on the Dogman sightings. As many of you may know, the sightings have been reported in several locations throughout Michigan. They're primarily in the Lower Peninsula, and apparently they've gained so much popularity that disc jockey Steve Cook at WTCM-FM recorded a song about the creature and its reported sightings. I find this stuff fascinating because I have had an actual experience. I did not actually see the creature, but I saw the aftermath, and I'll be happy to tell you all about it. Many of you may or may not know that I live in northern Mississippi, out in the sticks. It's a very isolated area, and about 9 years ago, my daughter was behind the house playing in the woods. I'm working out in the shop. I hear her scream. I run down to see what the commotion is. She's running up the trail, just wide-eyed and freaking out. You know, as a parent, I'm like, what's wrong? I thought she was hurt. She wasn't hurt. What's wrong? Daddy, 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 I seen this thing. You know, I seen it. Oh my God, it's terrible. It's a nightmare. What is it? What is it? She explains to me that apparently it looked like a dog, except the thing stood up on its hind legs, looked at her, made this horrible noise, and proceeded to disappear off into the bushes. I go to investigate where she told me it was, and lo and behold, there are these enormous tracks. They're not like any dog tracks or wolf tracks that I've ever seen before. These were the paw print elongated with an opposable feature that could have been a thumb except for the claw. And I'm telling you, where she told me it went through, I found fur in the actual trees where it went through there, and this stuff was too high off the trail to be a dog or a wolf. This thing would have had to have been 7 feet, 8 feet tall. You know, you could, this was really strange. Alex, I would absolutely like to apologize for the noise, but due to budget conflicts, I was forced to ride the Greyhound bus to Michigan. And I'm on the way, I'm en route, there's no getting off the bus. I apologize for the noise. However, I am looking forward to hearing everyone else's stories about the Dogman. This is a phenomenon that is absolutely dear to my heart. I'd love to get to the bottom of this.
No need to apologise, Kevin. We can hear you just fine. I just really appreciate it that you've shared that experience with us. Now, in your opinion, what would you say this Dogman is? And where has it come from?
I would just like to say, in my personal opinion about the Dogman, this thing is some kind of shapeshifter. It's coming over from another dimension somehow. It's walking from dimension to dimension. That's just my take on the thing. We will see. A tiny tidbit of trivia. The Ottawa Indians believe that the Dogman stretches back as far as the 1700s, and they refer to the strange creature as Wendigo. This is Kevin Graham saying thanks to P.A. Radio for sponsoring all my travels. I want everyone to know that we are going to have fun, and y'all have a great day.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and safe journey. Now, Della, we just heard Kevin's take there about shapeshifters.
So basically he's saying that it's an interdimensional being.
Yeah.
And it can shapeshift from one form to another.
Right, okay.
Oh, it could be. Don't know, do we? See, we don't know.
Well, this is it. It's just one big mystery, isn't it?
Also, another theory about the Dogman and where it originated from was that it came from the Nephilim, which was fallen angels, and it was believed that the angels and the humans mated and they produced what we call Nephilim, which is fallen angel. And they were saying that the angels also mated with animals, which resulted in animals being part human, part animal. So that's another thing that I came across while I was doing my research too. So that's probably another good thing for people to go research and look up.
Absolutely. And if you're listening, please look this stuff up. It's interesting. It really is. Now, Della, I want to introduce to the show our guest, Phil Stern.
Well, hello, Alex. Hello, Della. And thank you for having me on the show.
Now, first of all, Phil, Della and I would like to say a big thank you for coming on the show to share your story with us. Now, am I right in thinking that this is the first time you've actually told the story yourself? I know it's been told before, but this is the first time that you will use your own voice, if you like, to actually explain to us what happened.
You're totally right on that. I had it narrated, I think it's 2 years ago, from Josh Turner, and he took my story on Dogman encounters with Vic Cundiff. And then a week later, I had DMT narrate the story again on his channel. So yeah, that's the first time I'll ever speak of the encounter in person.
So this is an exclusive for P.A. Radio. So anyway, Phil, where did it all begin?
Back in 2016, in July, I went up to southern Norway, where my family has a little holiday cabin, to see if there's any maintenance work to be done, and just to take a week off to relax and get my mind straight and all, and yeah, just basically have a little vacation.
So Phil, were you with anyone?
I went up there alone, and sadly at that time I didn't have my dog. That would have been cool to take him along, because the area, southern Norway, or Norway as a whole, is a very beautiful country. There's barely any people, and you can just take it's right, the cabin is situated right in the middle of the woods, on top of a mountain, and it's just an awesome area to rest, and you even forget which day it is of the week, because you don't see anything. You just hear wildlife, and you hear the rushing water from the streams and from the lakes and stuff. It's awesome. So yeah, I went up there myself to just to check on everything, and just to have a little me time, basically.
So it sounds like the perfect vacation. You're in this cabin, you're alone, beautiful countryside. I'm assuming the weather conditions were okay?
Yeah, the weather was outstanding. It was nice and sunny. It wasn't too hot, about 25 degrees Celsius, and perfect weather to go out in the woods, do some hiking or some bushcrafting, which I love to do too. And yeah, it started out to be a good 1 week for me, but well, that changed a bit later.
And that is what I want to get on to now. At what point did you see the creature?
It must have been on the second day at 10 to 10:30 p.m. when I went out onto the deck from the cabin to have a cigarette and enjoy the night a little bit. And that's when I heard some commotion from the lake below the cabin, which is about 30 meters or so away. That's when I noticed a creature sitting there trying to drag a dead moose onto the shore from the lake. And yeah, that's when it started to notice me and gave me a very, very violent look. And that's when I decided to get back into the cabin real quick.
Well, I can't say I blame you for retreating back to the cabin. I mean, this creature sounds terrifying. Can you please explain to us what it actually looked like?
Let me just throw this in for the audience. I'm pretty nervous, and my accent gets a little heavy from time to time, so please throw me a bone.
Phil, we completely understand. We know this was a very traumatic experience for you, so, just take your time.
It's really hard to explain the creature. Well, a good description for all of you would be, I don't know if you know the movie Bad Moon with that werewolf and the German Shepherd, the little kid. That's basically what the creature looked like. A little smaller, but same facial features, same appearance, basically.
Now, if you're listening to the show through YouTube, if you look at your screen now, you'll see that I've put a photograph up there of a wolf's head. Now, this is the photo that Phil sent me before the show started, so that will give you some idea of what it looked like. Now, Phil, was the creature on all fours, or was it up on its hind legs?
The creature wasn't on all fours. It was squatting down, and when it noticed me, and I started to freeze up and retreat slowly into the cabin, that's when the creature got up and ran away on 2 feet into the forest.
So maybe, just maybe, it was more scared of you than you actually were of it.
Well, I'm not too sure about me scaring the creature. I think I just startled it because I was standing there smoking my cigarette. I didn't make any noise while doing it. I was looking over the lake and into the countryside, and I guess I just surprised it, and that's when I decided to run away first. Like fight or flight.
I mean, obviously this happened very quickly, so it's probably going to be hard for you to give us an exact description. But what was the body of the animal like? They refer to this thing as a dog man. So was there any resemblance to a man?
Another thing I would like to add is that I don't really like the term dog man as it's known. It sounds too spiritual to me. It sounds something Native American. So to me, it's basically just, I would like to call it wolfman or man-wolf or whatever, because, I don't know, it didn't look like a dog to me.
Yeah, it is strange that they call it a dog man. I have to agree with you there, because from your description and Kevin Graham's description, it's more wolf-like than dog.
I guess they just call it dog man because, it's they usually walk on two feet. That's why they use that description. But nah, it doesn't look like a man at all. It just looked like a werewolf. Nothing else.
So what about the appearance of the animal? Its color, its fur?
It was black and brownish all throughout, from top to bottom. The fur the creature had on its body, it looked like it reached into a socket, like a light socket or something.
So almost like that electrocution appearance where your hair all stands up on end.
Exactly like that. It looked like it reached into a light socket, and the hair was just like static all over its body. That's how the fur looked.
So after you saw this creature, I mean, your natural response was get the hell out of there, yeah?
I think it was like an automatic thing. I didn't even realize I was retreating once I saw it. And the rest of the way, I ran back inside, slammed the door.
Obviously scared, I would imagine. What did you do then? I mean, did you phone anyone for help, or did you report the sighting?
And no, I didn't think about phoning anybody because I have no internet or reception at all up there. And the first thing I did was barricade the windows and the door, basically. Yeah, and then I went to the utility room, which is by the front door of the cabin, where the heating is and all, and I have a little toolbox there and some garden equipment, and I took an axe and went back to the door to the deck, and I just sat there by the fire, which was lit in the oven, and waited to see what happens next.
So, Phil, once you had barricaded yourself in, did you hear the creature again? Did it approach the cabin?
Yep, it went on all night. The creature was howling, and I can't even explain. The howls were just crazy. it was ungodly. It was like a mix of screaming and wolf howls, and it was pissed. I could notice. You can hear it running around the cabin and in the bushes which surround the cabin, and I was just sitting there and trying to come to terms with the whole situation, and I was scared for my life, like a lamb waiting in a cage to be slaughtered.
I mean, it's hard to imagine what you must have been thinking, what you must have been going through, because obviously, like you just said, you're in this cabin, you're like in a cage, you can't escape, you've got this animal, this creature, whatever it was, running around, howling, screaming. I mean, what must have been going through your head at that time? We spoke before the show, and I know this has been a very traumatic experience, and it's taken you a while to get over this, hasn't it, Phil?
It really did mess me up for 2 years at least. Started to accept the whole thing at the end of 2017, and it's still with me today from time to time when I'm out in the woods walking my dog, or even at my place, at my house, when I go to the yard at night to have a cigarette or whatever. It never really gets back to life like it was before.
I mean, Phil, it was quite a horrific experience that you've had to try and digest there and come to terms with. So, I mean, I'm not surprised that it perhaps still brings back bad feeling even today.
I don't know, it's hard to explain when you see something like that, especially if you're like the kind of person that doubts these things existing, like monsters, ghosts, and whatever. It's really hard to accept. Really, really hard, because it makes you think what else might be out there if whatever it was is real.
Nobody really knows what this thing is. I mean, we've heard during the show, Della has shared quite a few theories of what the Dogman is, and so has Kevin Graham. Now, have you any idea? I mean, obviously you've seen it. Have you any idea where this thing could have come from?
I don't think anybody can answer that question, Alex, because how could you? You know, how could you know of its origins? And I forgot to mention that the next day, when the night was over, I did actually went into town to report it to the police, to the local police, to tell them what happened. And that was mentioned on the other shows before. And they, I was expecting lots of laughs, and well, that didn't happen. They were just looking at each other and talking in Norwegian, which I can't speak or understand that good, and they didn't even bother to give me a report, a copy of the report I made, and I don't know, it started to get even fishier after that. That's
interesting that the police kind of gave you that reaction. It kind of suggests that there were other reports of such creature in that area.
Yeah, and the moose was actually gone too. The following day, I didn't look at it. I didn't look for it right away when I exited the cabin, because that's when I went for my car right away, which was standing right by the front door. I just had to get out of the area immediately, go down to the village and report it. So when I came back up, I looked at the spot the creature pulled the moose onto shore, and it was gone. It was just, there's nothing. You just saw the imprints from the happenings there, but nothing else.
You returned, but did you stay? Did you finish off your vacation, or did you decide enough's enough? You're out there, you're gone?
Well, before we head on to that question, Alex, I would like to point out where the cabin actually is. I'm not going to give the exact location, but it's above the little mining town called Evje, which is in Setesdal. That's the area. It's in southern Norway. It's about 70 kilometers north to the port of Kristiansand. And just to give you guys an idea, you can Google the town of Evje. It's a very beautiful place, but which turned into hell for me actually for 2 years, until I actually returned last year. Evje is spelled E-V-J-E for all that want to have a look at it on Google. When I went back up to the cabin after I filed the report in town, I just gathered all my stuff and drove back to the port. where I had to buy another ticket to take me back to Denmark. I couldn't stay another night because I have no means of protection up there, like you do have in the States with guns or something like that. I'm not gonna sit there with an unknown creature outside the cabin holding an old rusty axe. And besides all that, even if I had a gun, I would have left because I couldn't believe the whole thing. So you're not gonna stay in an area where something like that happened. The ferry ride back, and the which takes 3.5 hours to get to Denmark, and then it's another 8 to 10 hours from northern Denmark to my place in Germany. The ride back was hell for me. Just brainstorming the whole time and trying to explain to me what happened, what I actually saw, and it drove me mad. I was very exhausted when I came back home, and I must say I didn't share anything that happened up there with my parents or friends or whatever. I can't, because you know how that goes.
So since this ordeal happened, you mentioned that you have returned since to the cabin. Now, have you had any other experiences since you've returned, or heard of other reports within the area of this creature again?
When I returned last year in July, I had nothing strange happen to me. I just had to do it for myself to see how I react to the area, because I love that place up there. It's like a little paradise for me, actually, until it turned into hell. And nothing happened. The area was fine. No new reports. And I forgot to mention that that I checked with a local after I filed the report with the police, and I asked a local if there's any cases of wolves making their way down there, or bears or whatever, and they said, nah, no way in hell. That's like winning the lottery to have a bear come down that far south, or a wolf. Well, maybe wolves, but even if it was a wolf, if it was a wolf, it would have been a mutated wolf, and on 2 legs. Well, that explains itself.
It certainly does, Phil. But thank you ever so much for coming on the show. Unfortunately, we're running out of time.
Thank you ever so much for coming on tonight, Phil. It's really much appreciated, and I realise how hard it was for you to actually tell this tale, but you've done it, and thank you.
Thank you to the both of you for listening to me, and to everyone else that has taken the time to listen to this show. So yeah, I'm gonna sign off and catch you all later.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to Kevin Graham too for his bus ride into Michigan. That could have been stinky and horrible, but
nothing wrong with it being stinky and horrible, Della. It was cheap, and that's all that matters.
So it's good night from me, and good night from
me. And remember, tune in next week. We are talking about paranormal gizmos of the trade. Our special guest will be Gene Hamill. We are also going to be bringing back David Childers to the show. So remember, stay focused, stay alert, but more importantly, stay safe. Cheerio!